Jai Gurudev. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. Yeah, let's share. It was a beautiful journey that Nana summarized the whole thing of how Arjuna's questions were from one chapter to the other. And how again in the last chapter, he has the same question as to what is sannyasa and what is tyaga. And what was the explanation for the title of the chapter, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga? It is the one that contains all the essence of all the other 17 chapters. But my internet was a little shaky when Nana was explaining the actual term, Moksha Sannyasa. Can someone talk about that?
This is what I got, that when you do an action with moksha as the intention, then that is also sannyasa, I think. But if you do an action with the focus on the for some result, desired result, then that is not for moksha.
No, I'm talking of the title. This is the explanation that Krishna has given. But I think Nana had mentioned, why is this Moksha Sannyasa, the title Moksha Sannyasa? Because we have Sannyasa Yoga, we have Karma Sannyasa Yoga. But what is the title Moksha Sannyasa? Are you going to renounce moksha? Is that there was a question and my internet was a bit shaky then. So I did not actually get the full import of the meaning of the title.
He's talking, Jai Gurudev is talking about, Tatparya of Gita is a Brahma Vidya, Yoga Shastra, I was saying. That one, and how, step by step, he was saying how to get to Brahma Vidya. Shraddha, Satvika Shraddha, Karma Yoga was talking.
Right.
Obstacle is samsara. So moksha samsara. How to, to get, how to get it. Samsara is obstacle. I was saying. With Shraddha and Karma Yoga, we can, leads to moksha. Brahma Vidya leads to moksha.
Yeah.
And the sannyasa from samsara.
Right. He says samsara is a pratibandhaka for moksha.
Satvika Shraddha is very important, you were saying. The Dhriti is very important. That's what I could understand.
What was that? Say again.
Dhriti.
Satvika Shraddha is very important. You say Dhriti, commitment.
Dhriti. Okay.
That is very important. Yes. And then he was talking about second chapter, 11th verse, 18th chapter, 66 verses. The entire Bhagavad Gita. After that, it is
Correct.
Palashuddhi and all that.
Yeah. It was very nice. The whole gist. It was like a, like a beautiful recap of the whole thing. And all of Arjuna's questions in chapter 1, chapter 2, 3. There are some chapters where Arjuna does not question. It's only Krishna who takes on the whole thing. Like I think maybe 7 and 9. It's only Krishna who talks. Yeah. Nice. So we'll just run through these two verses that we have learned today. And we'll go back to Bhajagovindam, which we have to complete. We have another 3 verses. And then, yeah, we'll take it. We have to go back to chapter 3. Arjuna Uvacha. Om Atha Srimad Bhagavad Gita Moksha Sannyasa Yogaha. Arjuna Uvacha. Sannyasasya Mahabaho Tattvamichhami Veditum Tyagasya cha Hrishikesha Prithak Keshini Shudana. Arjuna Uvacha said, Mahabaho, O mighty armed Krishna, Hrishikesha, O Lord of the senses, Keshini Shudana, O slayer of Keshi, Sannyasasya of Sannyasa, Tattvam, the truth, Tyagasya cha, and that of Tyaga, Prithak, distinctly, Veditum Ichhami, I want to know. Arjuna said, O mighty armed Krishna, I want to know distinctly the truth of sannyasa and tyaga. O Lord of the senses, slayer of Keshi. Because variously in different parts, Krishna has used tyaga as karma phala tyaga, and he's talked of tyaga as karma yoga, whereas sannyasa he's talked of giving up of action. So Arjuna is visibly confused as to what is tyaga and what is sannyasa. And Nana very nicely brought us back to the Puranic story of how Krishna has got this name Keshi, Keshini Shudana. Keshi is a demoness that comes in the form of a horse, huge horse, and is troubling the gopis. And how Krishna, he puts his right hand into when the horse is neighing, he puts his right hand in there. And because Krishna has the Ashtasiddhis, he increases the size of his thing. It becomes like a rod, and that will kill Keshi. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sannyasam Kavayo Viduhu Sarva Karma Phalatyagam Rahustyagam Vichakshanaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha said, Kavayaha, the wise, Kamyanam Karmanam, of actions for desired objects, Nyasam, renunciation, Sannyasam, as sannyasa, Viduhu, no, Vichakshanaha, the learned people, Sarva Karma Phalatyagam, the renunciation of actions, Tyagam is Tyaga, Prahu, they say. So Shri Bhagavan said, the wise know Sannyasa as renunciation of actions for desired objects. The learned people say renunciation of the results of action is tyaga. So it just seems like it's a play of words between sannyasa and tyaga. He says the wise talk of sannyasa as renunciation of actions for desired objects, like all the kamya karmas. The examples cited were of wanting to have a son, so the putra kameshti yaga, wanting swarga, swarga paraha, wanting XYZ in the material world. So whenever actions are done for that, that becomes a kamya karma. So when you renounce those, and Nana again reiterated that Krishna was not against yagas and yajnas and homas and all that, as long as they are directed towards moksha. He also mentioned that the Bhagavad Gita is the Sara of the Vedanta, is Vedanta Sara. So when it is Vedanta Sara, and it cannot be anything but moksha. It talks only of the subject matter of the whole Bhagavad Gita is moksha. So when you and all of Vedas also, whatever is prescribed in the Vedas is actually towards moksha. So when we do these with a desire in mind, that becomes kamya karma. But when you do it for moksha, it becomes it is not a kamya karma. So that renunciation of actions for desired objects is sannyasa, whereas the learned people say renunciation of the results of action. Karma phalatyaga. Sarva karma phalatyaga is tyaga. If anyone wants to share, please go ahead. So Arjuna is as though back to square one, because this is again confusing him. No? He's only saying the wise people and the learned people. This is what they say, and this is what the wise learned people say. It will be interesting to know what Bhagwan answers further. Very excited about the chapter 18, because it's a summary, so to say, of the whole Gita, of all the 17 chapters earlier. Should we go back to Bhajagovindam and complete this?
I feel like Sarva Dharman Parityaga Ma Ekam Sharanam Praja. That stanza, that shloka only is a what it called gist. I feel like that. Doing so many things, so many ways, but only simple things. But then, after doing everything, we had to leave that effort.
But finally, Arjuna says, Nashto moha smritir labdva. My doubts have been cleared, and I will do as whatever you say. Karishye vachanam tava. And then what is that actually that Krishna is asking Arjuna to do is fight. Yudhyasva vigata jvaraha, without feverishness, without craving, without craving that result. You Go ahead and fight. That is what Bhagwan has been telling him. Do your karma. Swadharmam. So his Swadharma as a Kshatriya was to fight. And the beginning of the Gita started because Arjuna was so deluded by when he saw his relatives there, he saw his teacher there, he had to fight them. So finally, Arjuna was able to come out of that delusion, and he says, yes, now I am free of that delusion. I will do whatever you say. And in all of that, Krishna has so beautifully woven the whole, the path towards liberation.
But when Krishna says, you are not fighting with your relatives, already they are dead. They are not there.
That is true. See, that is when you look at it at a different level, no?
Yeah.
At ground reality, that is in the nivritti space, that is everything is already done. You are not the doer. But in the pravritti, you have to take your arms, you have to take your bow and arrow, go ahead and fight. So you do your karma with that attitude, that the karma phaladata is already someone, is the divine. You are not the one doing it. It's a beautiful blend of both pravritti and nivritti. There are both shreyas and prayas, both happening here in the Bhagavad Gita. Ultimately, it is a shreyo marga, but you cannot give up as grihastas, as karma yogis. We cannot give up karma, and that is what he's spoken of. He says, you just by renouncing karma, you don't become a sannyasa. You don't become a sannyasi. And he says also there are two paths of commitment. One is karma yoga and the other is sannyasa yoga. Yeah.
But he says no. Do whatever karma you are doing with detachment. That is sannyasa. Again, we are not expecting the result. Means we are as if we are not surrendering the result also. Sannyasi, whatever it is coming, it is a prasada only. Let us see how excitement, really it is exciting. When chapter 18 is going on, each chapter is coming into the mind, and some clarity is going to happen again. Yeah. Every time when we read, something new comes up. Okay.
And I would urge everyone to, I know it is all different timings and how your schedules are, but it is nice to also just listen to the chant of the different chapters that we are doing. Today we did chapter 4, tomorrow is 5. We may not understand all the shlokas, but at least, being there, listening to the chant will somehow, somewhere, something will trigger, and slowly the meaning also will start unfolding. So it is good to also chant as well as listen to the chant. So we'll go to Bhajagovindam. Anyone wants to chant the shloka? Arthamanartham bhavaya nityam nasti tatah sukhaleshah satyam putradapi dhana bhajam bhitihi sarvatraisha vihita ritihi. Artham, wealth. Anartham, calamitious, is calamitious. Bhavaya, thus reflect. Nityam, constantly. Na asti, there is not. Tataha, from it. Sukha leshaha, even a little happiness. Satyam, truth. Putratapi, even from his own son. Dhana bhajam, the rich. Bhitihi, there is fear. Sarvatra, everywhere. Esha, this. Vihita, is the ordained. Ritihi, the way. Seek Govind, seek Govind. So wealth is calamitious, thus reflect constantly. The truth is that there is no happiness at all to be got from it. To the rich, there is fear even from his own son. This is the way of wealth everywhere. Seek Govind, seek Govind. Suma, you want to read or shall I continue?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
If, as the teacher has expressed in the previous stanza, the enchantments of the lower nature in us are to be so powerful, also, wait, I'll read again. If, as the teacher has expressed in the previous stanza, the enchantments of the lower nature in us are to be so all-powerful in us, then philosophy and its visions are profitless dreams, mere poetic consolations, dreadful opiated hallucinations. A scientist must face facts. He sees things as they are and plans to improve the world and the life thriving upon it. The above stanza is a naked statement over a couple of facts known to all and realized by everyone, whatever be the field of their functions in life. Every creative thinker is an impatient revolutionary in as much as he is not satisfied with merely maintaining the status quo in life. His demand is always to pull down the edifice of sorrow and rebuild in its place the temple of joy. The Maya fascination for what money can procure, or at least promises to procure, is so powerful in us that we never give wealth its right and appropriate value. It is strange, indeed, that money was discovered and made by man, and yet man has become a slave to the very thing which is his own creation. Today, money rules the foolish man. The teacher here advises the seeker of the higher life to reflect constantly that wealth is calamitous, artham anartham. By repeatedly remembering the dangers of wasting one's entire life under the fascinations for wealth, the delusionary enchantments for money as such will retire from one's heart. Money, no doubt, has a value, but it is only inasmuch as it can procure things for us. But to give an over-exaggerated importance to money as such is thoughtlessness, and it will breed lovelessness, hatred, and 1,000 subhuman impulses in the money-mad people. Strange, wealth estranges us all. It is all very strange, the money psychology. When you have not got any, you will pant to get some. When you get some, you grow jealous of others who have more and feel conceited among those who have less. In the grabbing game, in profit hunting commerce of the world, when you become a little more successful, your jealousy and conceit are not thereby going to recede, proportionately, but strange, in the arithmetics of the money-mad world, your jealousy becomes powerful and your conceit limitless. Not only more wealth brings more
Can you read
jealousy.
this one? Can you read this this para one more time?
In the grabbing game, in profit hunting commerce of the world, when you become a little more successful, your jealousy and conceit are not thereby going to recede proportionately. But strange, in the arithmetics of the money-mad world, your jealousy becomes powerful and your conceit limitless. Not only more wealth brings more jealousies and conceits, but the individual starts entertaining unholy suspicions and unhappy fears. Suspicions that those who have not got as much as you have are planning to destroy you, and the fears that they may loot away all what you have from your secret treasures. Wealth is not welfare, artham, anartham. As Acharya Shankara indicates here, even one's own son becomes a source of fear for the unholy man of riches. Therefore, ever keep in one corner of your mind the same idea that money or wealth is only a means and not an end in itself. Wealth is calamitous. Have it in sufficient measure to use it. Liberally employ it in your service. Let not money use you or employ you in its service. When you possess money, wealth is a blessing. When you possess money, wealth is a blessing. Allow money to possess you, wealth is a curse, and it will give you not even a suspicion of comfort. Sukha leshaha. This is the truth, Satyam, about wealth. Not even a suspicion of comfort you will get. This is the way of wealth.
This is so beautiful. See, you need money to live. You cannot denounce the value of money, but you need to give money its place. If money is in your pocket, that is fine. But if money gets into your head, then all these things of either jealousy or conceit will start playing on. And then all the time you're constantly worried about safeguarding the wealth that you have. I'm reminded of Uncle Scrooge in Donald Duck. Such a miser, he has so much of wealth. All the time he's sitting and counting his wealth. He just popped up in my awareness, so I thought I'll just share. So, and he refuses to spend anything on anyone. So that kind of wealth, that is when it becomes anartham. It is absolutely, it is not your welfare. Use money liberally. Wanting to get money in order to live your life comfortably, and whatever excess you have, surplus you have, you do dana. That is what I think the previous previous shlokas we've learned. No, it says you earn enough so that you have, you have to also you have enough to give, but when you possessing money is different. That is fine. That's a blessing. But when you allow money to possess you, then you've had it. Then even your own son becomes a threat to you. Because like Swamiji explained, you'll have suspicions that everybody else is out to get at your money.
Nanaji was talking about that Shah Jahan and his son story.
Correct. Aurangzeb and Shah Jahan. But even when we apply to our own lives, you know, day-to-day activities when we interact with people. See, normally when we go to a big shop and we buy some expensive stuff, we don't really bargain. We just give whatever the price is and we get whatever. But where do we bargain? We bargain with the vegetable vendor who's actually making his daily life by selling and what do they get? Peanuts from that. And they live such a simple life. So there, why do we want to bargain? We want to bargain because we want to save that 1 or 2 rupees or 5 rupees. It makes it so meaningless, no? So I would think a change in our attitude will be this. When you're allowing money to possess you, this is what happens. You start bargaining with all these people. So I think this we will have to apply this in our day-to-day life and see how much of this we are in. Are we in our dealings with money? Are we allowing money to possess us, or are we in charge? Are we the boss or are we the slave?
To add to that, Brahmaraji, I think few points that we might have to ponder upon is, today our money is primarily maybe for our comforts and conveniences, isn't it? Most of it, because there's only so much required for a simple life. But most of the money is for our comforts and conveniences. And then that brings up a worry or a concern in our mind. Will these comforts and conveniences be with us in future? Will it be always available to me? That is what brings up insecurity in us. Otherwise, if you really look at us, at our life, the standard of living that most of us might have, there is no need to worry really. Our parents may be not as well off as we are. All purchasing power is much more than before. But still there is a concern, my children should do well, maybe they are children. So for how many generations are we worrying about and trying to save and accumulate wealth for? So that's what maybe also need to be thought through, right? So that's I think where money starts possessing us, because we are always under this thing. In future, I should have this same kind of life, same or better. Cannot even imagine it being less than what it is today.
Yeah, and here
you are very true. Vijayji is very true. Gurudev has given a very nice story. Means he has joked actually. One man was about to die, and he called the. उन्होंने वो जो लिखते हैं कि मेरी प्रॉपर्टी किसके नाम जाए, तो उन्हें पंडित जी को बुलाया और फिर पंडित जी को पूछा कि मेरा जन्म नेक्स्ट टाइम कहाँ होने वाला है, क्या होने वाला है. फिर उन्होंने वो जो वकील है उनको बोला कि मेरा नाम इस नाम से मेरी वसीयत बना दो. So people are so worried about their maintenance, convenience and everything. So they think about them only them. And they think only money will give them that comforts, or everything will be bought by money. And fear of losing everything. There is a fear also always.
Fear is what is, I think, Swamiji referring to here as money has possessed us. We are not possessing the money. Money has possessed us.
Correct.
हर चीज को हम उसी नजर से देखते हैं कि
money should be in the pocket, not in the head. That is also one sentence I always remember.
Yeah. So Gurudev keeps saying that money should be either in the pocket or in the bank, not in your mind. Okay, that is one. But even if that's the case, but even that money which is in the bank or in your pocket, what is it that it's going to serve? What is the purpose of that money? Is it always thinking that that should secure my future? Then maybe we need to rethink. Right? That's, I think, what Swamiji here is trying to in a very hard-hitting manner, trying to tell us.
See, I think it is not, Swamiji is not against planning for your future. I don't think that is what he means. But
no, planning for future is okay. That everyone has to do.
No,
But
you can't. You can't say dehi. You can't, come to a place where you don't have enough to even sustain yourself. That is again against your dharma, isn't it? Your dharma
but
is
that
protect
is
your body. Correct.
No, you used a word. There is enough for sustaining. That enough ka definition is what will matter.
That is where I think when you come from need-based living rather than the want-based living, that makes a big difference. So
Correct.
what you need for your daily sustenance is you need food, you need a shelter, and you need clothes, and maybe a little for a rainy day. That is it. But what we end up doing is we look at the world outside, we compare ourselves with others, and because of that, we get into that deluge of wanting to possess more and more things, whether it is material things, whether it is, having houses, whether it is having um, anything. You can go on adding to that list. Are they all coming from a need, or is it from want? I want to get it. It's desire based. Is it desire based or is it need based? So I think money, as long as it is need based and your needs are basic needs, I really, maybe once when we have some time, when we've done with Gita home study, we will all revisit Rajima's Bhagavad Gita. Very, very beautiful. In fact, maybe I will just share those videos. They're 3 or 4 YouTube videos. All of you, please watch. It is so beautiful the way she's brought in the whole concept of need-based versus desire-based living. And
finally it boils down to that only. But the problem is also because the society also views people differently based on what they possess. Unfortunately, meaning
don't be a football of others' opinion will come in handy. You live your life. You don't need to worry about what others think of you or others' opinion of you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good to know. I think that should be in the back of our mind.
Because, we should practice. I mean, see, reading this at one level is just having an intellectual concept, but applying it and integrating it in our daily life, in our thinking process, basically in our thinking process, that is when this jnana would become vijnana. Otherwise, it is just some, we're spending time doing some intellectual exercise. That's it.
True.
And such powerful words: allow money to possess you, wealth is a curse. And it will give you not even a suspicion of comfort. Sukha lesha. Lesha is, I think, that the example that once was given is for lesha avidya, I think Nana had talked about, or even vasanas, I think. When you have a butter ball in your hand and you, throw the butter ball, there is that little trace of the butter still on your palm. That is the lesha. So that comfort, that suspicion of comfort also doesn't come, because along with money comes the tag of insecurity. how am I going to preserve? How am I going to protect this money? Is someone going to take away my money? So it only gives us insecurity and misery. Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya viveka vicharam japsya sameta samadhi vidhanam kurvavadhanam mahadavadhanam Bhajagovindam Bhajagovindam. So pranayama, the control of all activities of life's manifestations in you. Pratyaharam, the sense withdrawal from their respective sense objects. Nitya anitya viveka vicharam, the inquiry or reflection consisting of discrimination between the permanent and the impermanent. Of Japya Nameta Samadhi Vidhanam, along with japa and the practice of reaching the total inner silence, samadhi. Kuru, perform. Avadhanam, with care. Mahat avadhanam, with great care. This is where that dhriti, the commitment and everything comes in. The control of all activities of life's manifestations in you, the sense withdrawal from their respective sense objects, the reflection consisting of discrimination between the permanent and the impermanent, along with japa and practice of reaching the total inner silence, samadhi, these perform with care, with great care. Suma, are you there?
Yeah. Now Shankara advises a seeker who has thus withdrawn his mind from all its hunting after wealth in the outer world of mind and matter, of men and things, of joy and sorrow. The seeker should learn to control all the subjective activities within his personality. A path in 5 stages was drawn up, by which a true seeker who has accomplished all the conditions that the teacher had prescribed can easily trot up to his goal. Study of the Gita, worship of the Lord, satsang and charity, along with the elimination of all the wealth hunting distractions by a process of correct thinking, together constitute what in Vedanta we call the outer exercises, Bahiranga Sadhana. Here, this stanza, we have all the elements of inner exercise, Antaranga Sadhana. They are as indicated by Shankara, control of all life's activities in the body, pranayama, the sense withdrawal, pratyahara, discrimination, nitya anitya viveka vichara, japa, and as a cumulative effect of all these, reaching a state of utter silence within, which is the springboard to the highest samadhi. Pranayama is a term used due to its hasty translation and equally superficial practice, has come to be translated and known among us as breath control. In Sanskrit, to express breath control, we have altogether a different word, phrase, shwasa yama. Shwasa yama. Prana in Sanskrit means life. And as used by the Upanishad seers, they have considered it as consisting of 5 distinct modifications. These 5 distinct names in their Upanishadic definitions are found to stand for the 5 physiological systems of activity, the 5 active departments of manifested life in a living, intelligent man. They are perceptions and reception of things into the subjective life, prana. Rejection of things and responses, apana. The digestive system, vyana. The circulatory system, samana. I think it is the other way, no? Digestive system is samana and circulatory system is vyana. And the capacity to lift ourselves from our present state of understanding to a nobler and better peak of thought on the mount of knowledge, udana. To control all these 5 expressions of life in a living being is called control of prana, pranayama. In order to achieve this, one of the outer methods generally advised to the dull, in temperament and to the inefficient in emotions is a system of very regulated exercises of breathing. True, pranayama can really be achieved only through sustained and sincere practice for sufficiently long time of devotion to the Lord, of study of the scriptures, and of selfless service to of the society. When a seeker has thus succeeded in controlling the outer flow of life's energy into its spectacular manifestations, he must also learn to roll his mind back to himself, away from its wanderings through the sense organs into the sense world. This capacity to whistle back the wandering mental rays away from its sense objects back into our bosom is called pratyahara. To lift this. Neither pranayama nor pratyahara is possible unless the intellect is re-educated to hold enduring and healthy values of life. That is very correct. Intellect needs re-education. And hence, the importance of developing a discriminative intellect that can readily make us see through the impermanent anitya glitter of the multiplicity and recognize the eternal nitya, immutable truth. This can come only through constant scientific thinking, as indicated in the greatest of all philosophical textbooks that man has today, called the Upanishads. In order to develop the required subtlety of intellect and discover in it the necessary amount of balance and vigor, the intellect still must undergo a certain type of pre-vichar training, and this is available in Japa. Oh, that's nice.
Can you read that once again?
In order to develop the required subtlety of intellect and discover in it the necessary amount of balance and vigor, the intellect still must undergo a certain type of pre-vichar training, and this is available in Japa. When, through Japa, the intellect has become steady, it discovers in itself a better capacity to understand the subtler suggestions and the deeper imports of the Upanishadic declaration. Thus, it comes to recognize and develop viveka in itself. With the help of this power of discrimination, which can distinguish the real from the unreal, the individual gains a dexterity in withdrawing his mind from the unreal. This capacity to withdraw one's attention from the unreal is called pratyahara. When such a discriminating man could withdraw his mind at will, without much difficulty, from all sense objects in him, the control over his physiological activities is almost perfect. When thus the seeker has, at all the layers of his personality, tuned himself with the highest, his flesh, mind, and intellect will not ever come to disturb him during his contemplations upon the real. They will retire from their, They will retire from their respective fields of explosive activities, and in this hushed silence within, a taste of relative thoughtlessness, a state of relative thoughtlessness, samadhi, the stage is set for him to receive unobstructed initiations
Intimation.
from the infinite.
I think
Unobstructed intimations from the infinite. This state of final beatitude is never as much expressed in any Shastra, only the last stage of the human effort called the practice of samadhi alone is indicated. The final experience is not gained by anyone. It is, therefore, already with us, with all of us. The practice of samadhi only lifts the veil and reveals what was, is, and shall ever be the eternal nature of the infinite. That thou art, roars the teacher in the Chandogya Upanishad. These various disciplines at the mental, intellectual, and physical levels are to be undertaken with an artistic poise, with a literary delicacy, a poetic finish. There is no question of forcing the mind, crushing the instincts, or belaboring the passions. Force will create only suppressions, deformities, and abominable ugliness of personality. There cannot be any hurry in the natural unfoldment of one's personality. Hurry is not known to all. Creative expression in nature outside, the sun rising, the moon setting, the blossoming of the buds, the arrival of the fruits, the germination of the seeds, the fetus in the womb, the bird in the egg, all have no hurry, but each takes its own time to grow and emerge. If the seeker tries to hurry up and double up his march to reach the goal, haste is waste on the path of truth. This warning is so beautifully given here when Shankara advises so lovingly. Please perform with care, with great care. Avadhanam Avadhanam Mahadavadanam. Avadhanam Mahadavadanam.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing, I think we can reread it one more time. But especially the last para, we are told we have one birth, so we need to do maximum here. So for me, I'm talking of myself. There is that little hurry. I should honestly confess. This is no, you should be the three different adhikaris, different types of sadhaks, Uttama, Madhyama, and Adhama, right? So there is that element of hurry there. So beautifully Swamiji is explained, there is no hurry in any of nature's expressions. Like the rising of the sun, the setting of the moon, or the blossoming of a bud. It all takes its time. So that is why he says, do it with care. Avadhanam mahadavadan. So we need to drop that feverishness also on the path of moksha, or because haste is waste. So you can't hurry it up. That is why even Gurudev says, no, when you are on this path, you have to let go of your baggage, sit down and relax. In the train, you can't keep running because you want to reach your destination faster. You will reach when you have to reach. That faith you should have, that Shraddha you should have. So I think when we have the Shraddha that we are on the path and we will be taken care of, that is why they say Shraddha is so important on this path, no? With that Shraddha, then that hurry is taken care of, that worry and hurry is taken care of. It's very beautiful.
But here there is actually, there is no hurry really, no? Because we don't have to reach anywhere. If you really look at it, there is no need to hurry because you are not going anywhere, neither have you got to reach anywhere.
Which is true, but as a sadhak,
as a sadhak only I'm saying, that the moment you are able to know that you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to reach anywhere, you're there and you are that, right? Then automatically the hurry may be to gain that knowledge or gain more jnanam, thinking more jnanam will give us moksha. Probably that is where that hurry has to be dropped. This is more of realizing, and that can happen in a fraction of a second. It doesn't need, or it can take lifetimes also. That's also possible. But other than that, there is no hurry to reach anywhere because you are that, and realizing that can just be in that split second, right?
Correct.
So yeah, hurry may be referring to probably
hurry may be referring to the bahya sadhana and this antar, what is that thing?
See, even when Bahiranga sadhana and
Antaranga sadhana and Antaranga sadhana. So the hurry may be involved in that. The tag of hurry might be there where you want to do this.
We cannot speed up the process, but our Guru is our catalyst.
That is true. That is the Shraddha we need to have.
No, and that is also because maybe we have been conditioned to think that we have to always do something. Like somebody was saying here, human
where correct.
Yeah. So it's like we always think we have to do something to get something. So it's like human doings, not human beings. So we have to shift from human doings to become human being, so that we know it's just being. That's it.
That's where Swamiji says, no, re-educating the intellect. And this, to get to that state of some set intellectual maturity, mental maturity. So his advice is to start with japa. Adi Shankara says, no, start with japa, so the mind becomes steady and the refinement happens. And there he says, so don't be in a hurry. When you have come to realize your inner, when you've started realizing your inner state of mind, then you don't get into a hurry, because that is a natural state, and in nature there is no hurry. This is my understanding.
I think Percy ji wanted to say something.
Started this Bhajagovindam, there was that lingering thought at the back of the mind that in between two chapters of Gita, 17 and 18, why were we postponing? And then once the Bhajagovindam was explained to us, it taught that why it really turned into a wonder. Like it was so essential to go through it before going to chapter 18. But before that, the thought was there at the back of the mind as to why this kind of a interjection between two chapters. Like the thought process was like that.
Yeah.
But once Bhajagovindam, it was really a wow moment for me. Like so much of introspection going on.
Yeah. And even in this chanting of this Bhajagovindam itself, after every stanza, Adi Shankara says Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam. So Adi Shankara says Japam, say Bhajagovindam. So your mind becomes steady and is able to undergo that re-education. And then you will start realizing that, and there you don't get into a hurry. And so till now he says wake up, and he's whiplashing us to wake up. Come on, hurry up and wake up. But once you start culturing your mind, he says, don't be in a hurry. Nature has no hurry. It has no, otherwise you'll become very, he says, no, the ugly, you'll make it very ugly. That's so true. Because in your feverishness.
Go ahead, Sumaji. Go ahead.
This is what I got after reading this explanation, that we have to do all that, whatever antaranga sadhana and bahiranga sadhana, all that we have to do, and we have to focus. And in that process, he says, that is where the re-education is happening. And to re-educate, your mind has to become steady, for which you have to do the japa of Bhajagovindam. And when the mind slowly starts settling down, then don't be in a hurry to reach that that final state. That's where I think yesterday I was contemplating on this, that this whole thing is so difficult for me, and yet I want to somehow get there. So this is kind of a reminder for me, don't be in a hurry.
Actually, the thought came to my mind now, who is in hurry?
The mind.
The small mind is in a hurry, always.
It is conditioned like that. The small mind is conditioned like that, no? In the outer world.
Like what?
So much
wanting to reach the ocean.
Vijay said, no, human doings.
Here, one thing I wanted to mention, depending on the sadhak's maturity, means at the very much level of starting of the sadhana, this path, and then otherwise what happens, not be in a hurry and just take it as it comes. This statement should come little bit when you have walked on the path. Otherwise, you may lose the focus, and you may deviate also, or you may go a different kind of slumber. So little bit we need to be tricky when this has to be introduced. Once you are completely on the train, then anyway train is going to take you. But if you are on the platform, or if you are on the some another vehicle to reach to the platform, all these steps, it's a very vague thing. We really need to be, for each and every person, every sadhak, it is different.
Very beautiful point you brought in. Yeah.
Very correct.
Yeah, but Madhuriji, one thing is, look, I don't think there is no mention of it, but commitment is required. But at the same time, hurry may not be required. Commitment to do something we have to do. Yes, as a sadhak, daily practices, all that. But maybe someone thinks that, okay, instead of doing 8 rounds, I can do 10 rounds and reach somewhere faster. Maybe that won't work. Might not work really. Correct?
Correct, correct.
So that kind of a hurry to get something by doing something more, or just trying to fasten or speeden up the process may not work. Yes, sticking to the commitment, doing what is required to be done, all that is probably not something we can compromise on.
Correct, correct. That is what I said, no? It very much depends on individual sadhak. And you are at a very
and the blossoming also happens from within. You yourself know that, okay, I need to drop this or I need to adopt this. So that intimation comes from within. No?
But for that, the shuddhi of the antakaran is very important. Otherwise, your tendencies are so strong because it is coming since last 100,000s of lifetimes. That is why it becomes very challenging. And that is why that commitment and steadiness very important, because till that time, that proper intuitive thing or clarity also doesn't dawn, because you are so much like partial to your own vasanas. I remember my early days, but it is the Guru's grace and how beautifully he takes you through. So these all instructions are little bit depending on which level of this thing we are. That's what I feel.
But this also happens naturally now, like from japa to the level, like you're talking about the levels. The guru takes us naturally, or like someone said, no, it comes from within. When we are doing japa, then automatically it gets dropped and we go to the next level, then the next level, then the next level. Of course, yes, commitment is required on our part to do everything. But at particular age, it comes up from within, that naturally happens from within. Like now I need this, my soul is looking for something spiritual. Earlier, like in early days, we are completely involved in our family, in our work, in our those things, and one day it dawns, yes, I need something, this I am liking this, so we start moving towards it, and then step by step, we reach at different levels, and that's how the evolution takes, and that happens naturally, I think. Of course, yes, our commitment is completely required, we need to be steadfast.
This naturally why it is happening, because Guru Tattva is so much predominant in our lives. The Guru's Sankalpa is there that he wants to push so many souls on the other shore. That is why. Otherwise, see how our lives were. It is not that previously, before coming to Gurudev, we didn't have this yearning for the knowledge. It was there in me for very long. But that steadiness at any level was very, very low. And now when I look back, 100% I totally agree that it is only the Guru Tattva and that live master in our lives has kept us so much steady on this path. थोड़ा भी इधर उधर होते हैं तो चपत मिलती है and then again we come back. Amazing it is.
Yeah, Guru takes us leaps and bounds. Guru takes us ahead leaps and bounds. The journey starts with little bit spirituality, and then when you find a guru, then you go leaps and bounds. Yeah.
Very nice. Here in this shloka, Shankara has very beautifully given us some steps for Bahiranga sadhana and Antaranga sadhana. The first one was pranayamam pratyaharam. So one is control of all life's activities in the body, that is pranayama. And the two was sense withdrawal, pratyahara, that is for the mind. And then discrimination, nitya viveka vicharam. 3 and 4 are for the intellect, discrimination and japa, and 5 as a cumulative effect of all these reaching a state of inner utter silence, state of utter silence within, which is the springboard to the highest. And the samadhi, he said, was like an veil. It's just unveiling the truth of what you are. So it is these beautiful steps that he has given. And when the pranayama is actually control of all of life's activities, life's manifestations, which is the prana, apana, udana, samana. And I thought we will just go through that beautiful paragraph where the distinct names given stand for the 5 physiological systems of activities, the 5 active departments of manifested life in a living, intelligent man. They are perceptions and reception of things into the subjective life, that is prana, rejection of things and responses, apana. Just imagine, I mean, this is at not just the physical level, also the mental, the mental and the memory level, at all the levels, prana and apana. When you perceive things, you ingest things, you're eating, that is also prana, you're breathing, that is prana. Whereas apana is you reject, you don't keep all that you think, isn't it? Just imagine if we had kept all that we were thinking in all these days, there will be so much of traffic jam there, but we reject also. So just like how we breathe out, we also give away all these, the memory of so many things doesn't stay with us. And then the digestive system, I think here there is a maybe conceptual error, because even in Tattva Bodh, we had this little conflict. Digestive system is actually samana, is what we have learned. And then circulatory system is vyana. And the capacity to lift ourselves from our present state of understanding to a nobler and better peak of thought on the mount of knowledge, udana. So beautifully he's explained udana as it is the energy within us, the prana, that makes us rise. Even if you from sitting position you want to stand up, it is the effect of udana. So here it's such a beautiful interpretation, is from our present state of understanding, where you rise yourself to a nobler and better peak of thought on the mount of knowledge. So to control all these 5 expressions of life in a living being is called pranayama, control of prana. And then in order to do this, you do to the dull in temperament and the inefficient in emotions, is a system of well-regulated exercises of breathing. So the actual pranayama that we understand it as, like control of the prana, all the 3-stage pranayama, bhastrika, all that will help us achieve this. So actual pranayama is actually a wider range. It's a wider lens. It includes all of these life's manifestations in us. And then when a seeker has thus succeeded in controlling the outflow of life's energy into its spectacular manifestations. So when you have now have a say of your control of your prana, that is all the life's manifestations, he must also learn to roll his mind back to himself. So that is the pratyahara. So we've learned that wealth is not going to give you welfare. So wealth and all its indulgences and the outside world, so that you have got, and then you do you practice pranayama, control all the life's manifestations, like what Nana was talking about. When you have to sleep and there is some movie coming up, you take it back. You say, no, I have to sleep. And you know, that is also pranayama. And when you want to have a second serving because it's very tasty, you say, no, this is enough. That is also pranayama. You're having a say of the life's manifestations, and then you roll your mind back in itself. That is that is the pratyahara. The capacity to whistle back the wandering mental rays away from its sense objects into our bosom. So manaha becomes namaha. That is when you turn inward, that is pratyahara. Then neither pranayama nor pratyahara is possible unless the intellect is re-educated. Here comes the japa. Japa and nitya nitya viveka vichara, the vairagya and the viveka. So that is when your intellect starts getting polished. Initially, you polished your body and mind with the pratyahara and pranayama and pratyahara, and then you polish your intellect with viveka, vairagya, and japa. The japa gives you that steadiness in your intellect. So this pre-vichar training, it's so beautiful. I never thought japa had so much of value, but now everything makes sense. No?
Yeah. And
then,
as children, when we were taught to chant, we did it. And I feel that was so good because that steadied the mind. And that habit continued into adulthood. Now, I didn't do that with my children, that I always think that I didn't give them that japa in their childhood.
Because
it's very important.
Yeah, like mana shuddhi is important. The mind also should attain that degree of stillness. Mana, what is that? Naishchalya should be attained for the samadhi to unveil the veil. And then when you have had such a steadiness in your mind, they will then retire from the respective fields in the huddled silence within, a state of relative thoughtlessness. That is when samadhi comes in. This state of final beatitude is never as such expressed in any shastra. Only the last stage of human effort called samadhi alone is indicated. That's why everything stops at samadhi. Even Patanjali Yoga Sutras talk of Ashtanga Yoga, which ends in samadhi. But samadhi, that state, takes us to the next level, wherein the final experience happens. The final experience is not gained by anyone. It is there already with all of us. Practice of samadhi only lifts the veil to reveal what was and shall ever be the eternal nature of the infinite. So from our human doings, like Vijayji said, to human beings, in order to transform ourselves from human doings to human beings, little bit of doing is required. And that doing we should do in an unhurried fashion. As in, you do it, but let that hurry not be there in your mind. I think once Gurudev said, no, he says, you can't let's do a quick meditation. You can't do a quick meditation, or I'll quickly go to sleep. You can't do that. It will take its own time for you to settle down and sleep. It just happens. So we should have infinite patience. You do all this with the dynamism. You do it with that commitment, determination, dedication. At the same time, in your inner state, in your mind, you should have that infinite patience. And that will come with Shraddha. So we'll do the last shloka. Anyone wants to share anything before we do the last one?
Yeah, I'd like to share here.
Yes.
A lot of times, like Gurudev, even Nanaji has been repeatedly telling us to do chanting of the Gita verses. And they have been patient with us and they have been just repeatedly telling us, no scolding, nothing. And Gurudev also has been telling us about doing our sadhana and how to do it in a perfect manner. Like you do your warm up, then you do your 3-stage pranayam, then you do your Sudarshan Kriya, and then you meditate. And why all that in a particular sequence? And all this has, when you go deep into knowledge, you realize why all this is so important. how just now also Swamiji has brought about in the commentary, the pranayam, he was talking about it not being just breath control. There is another word in Sanskrit for breath control, swasa.
Vasta.
He-
Vasayam.
And how it has been mistakenly being taken by a lot of our teachers also as breath. Prana is breath. And prana is not just breath. So I mean, there is so much of depth in all this, and why, like Gurudev has told us to do all this in a particular sequence. And how all the balancing of all this life force energy which is there, this prana, apana, udana, how it all gets balanced when we do all the warm-ups first. And then we start with the 3 stage pranayam. So it is so intricate. The greater detail you go into all this, the more you come to know. Probably
the more you come to a state of wow, no?
are available, aware of all this. They may not share it to that extent with us, but we need to follow them, follow their instructions, like why we need to do it in a particular sequence.
Very true. Very beautiful. It only brings you to a state of wonder.
Yes.
Wow. You know, this deeper understanding. Very nice.
Even in this, like sometimes when as we go higher up the rung, like and we do our TTC and all, we are doing 5 rounds of Padma Sadhana and all that. And suddenly we come back, we are so enthusiastic and we say, let's do 2 rounds, let's do 3 rounds, let's do 4 rounds, something like that in the our follow-up. And then we make them do it fast or something, you know. And then the whole efficacy of the Padma Sadhana is in doing each asana slowly and getting meditative in the asana. That is so important. And somehow, somewhere we lose that when we want to do more rounds like that. So that hurry that we were talking about today, that should not be there when we are practicing. Everything has a purpose behind it. And the purpose is so intricate to our growth, to our physical well-being as also to our mental well-being.
Yeah. See, even when you're practicing pranayam, you take your time and do it. Pranayam is actually, I think Gurudev himself has said once, I don't know whether it was in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras or one of the advanced course videos. It says pranayam, oh pranayam, I've got to do pranayam. So, you know, that I think when he was talking of the obstacles to yoga, alasya, I think that is to talk about the laziness that comes in, lethargy that comes in. He says that is where you sit up like a warrior and do it. That will give you that, I forget the effect of pranayama is to remove the veil, thin down the veil of the thick veil
that is the benefit of pranayama.
Yeah, that's the benefit.
That is the benefit. Shwasa prashwasa yorgati vicheda is a pranayama. Or pranayam ka fayda kya hai? So that gives you. And many in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, many sutras are like that. It will open up something different for you. Even for Sanyama, there are sutras. In the Sanyam course, we have told something, no?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is when this hurry aspect, even when we are practicing pranayama, if we can remember that, rather than, you know, because of time constraint, you just want to quickly finish. No, it would not work. You'd have to do it according to how it is to be done. And take your time. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. And when you do it like that, you're honoring the practice. And then this constant abhyasa will have some effect. So it's everything, it's like connecting the dots, no? Everywhere. It is wonderful. Okay, we'll finish the last.
I want to request Parfiji, if you can share more on this 5 pranas, upa pranas, their functioning, their importance and everything.
Yeah. I have given my son today only the notes for typing because these were handwritten notes and my handwriting is not all that good. So I given 3 pages of the notes. Once he gets that done, then tomorrow I'll give him 2-3 more pages to do. And then I will forward it to Brahmaraji. and then she can put it out as required in our group.
I will put it in the, we can share screen and we can you can talk about that. And whoever's interested, I will email them. Like you said, I don't want this beautiful knowledge to be, I wouldn't say misused, but it has to be given to the right recipient when they are ready. No?
Yeah,
So
totally agree.
let it not just become very casual. It's not like a casual forward.
Even in PRN, when Guruji has been talking about this Swara Yoga and all that, he has been talking like from which side the person is coming, which nostril of yours is active, and then you can answer yes or no to him. The question he has asked. All this is sacred knowledge, he is saying. Like it's kept a secret because it's a higher form of knowledge.
Correct.
Even when we went for tsunami work, he used to say that see which is your nostril which is active, and with that leg you climb into the car. When from base camp, relief camp and all that. And one youngster did exactly the opposite. And then he got lost. And in South, we don't know. They don't know English, they don't know Hindi. And we don't know their South Indian language. So that fellow was lost in Nagapatnam. With difficulty at night, he reached where we were staying to our base camp. And he was hungry and tired and all that. And then he said that now I realize what Guruji said, why he said. I did ulta and this is what I had to suffer.
Yeah, and somewhere someone told also when the rishis were meditating or they wanted to open certain nadi, so they had an instrument like that lakdi ki kathi, no? They used to keep it in under, not kamandalu,
that stick,
that danda.
Correct.
They used to keep it in their armpit.
Yeah, Y-shaped stick which put below the armpit. The pressure is in the nostril which is functioning, stops functioning. The other alternate nostril starts functioning. So like if your right nostril is functioning, then it is the Surya Nadi. So your heat is generated. So that's the best time to eat. So if your Chandra Nadi is working, then you need to change that before you start eating. Otherwise your food will not get digested.
Such beautiful, deep knowledge, no? Really. It'll be nice to listen to you, Persiji, once your notes are ready.
But I think this was like our parents also. My mother used to always check the which nostril is working, especially for the exams and all. She used to ask, put that foot out of the house. Whenever I used to leave the house, she used to ask me to check my nostril when I was in school.
Yeah. So shall we practice non-hurry today? It is 7:30 here. I was thinking we'll complete Bhajagovindam, but let's not be in a hurry. We'll do this tomorrow. We have one last, I was planning that we'll finish chapter Bhajagovindam today and then go on to chapter 3 from tomorrow, but doesn't matter. We'll do this shloka tomorrow and then we'll. Or if everybody is okay to stay on for another 5 to 7 minutes, maybe we can complete this. So I will leave it to the group. We have one last shloka.
No, we do it tomorrow, I think.
Fine.
I also have to go.
Fine, no problem. We'll do it tomorrow and
tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll practice non-hurry today. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Jai Gurudev. Hari Om.